Today on Commander Replay, we take our first look at MTG Brawl. Can Depala pilot Exemplar crew her way past Kumina, the Locust God, and Padim? Find out next on Commander Replay. Welcome back, everyone, playing some MTG Brawl. According to the message log, looks like we've got an error already. Your blah 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 is out of date, server code blah. Interesting. Anyway, so we're playing some MTG Brawl. This is my very first time playing. I know basically nothing about this format. I know that this probably isn't a good hand, so we're gonna mulligan that. Maybe we should have kept the last one. Let's mulligan to 6. 2 lands. Alright, yeah, 2 lands is better. We have a thematic compass on top of our deck. That's pretty helpful, actually. So as long as we find a 3rd land at some point after that, we can continuously make our land drops, and that'll be good. So play a mountain, pass the turn. We're playing Depala Pilot Exemplar, 1 red-white for a 3/3. Other dwarves you control get +1/+1. Each vehicle you control gets +1/+1 as long as it's a creature. Whenever Depala becomes tapped, you may pay X. If you do, reveal the top X cards of your library, put all dwarf and vehicle cards from among them into your hand, and the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. So we're playing Depala vehicles, and this is a deck that I wanted to try out in this format because I felt like Depala vehicles is probably just not quite there in a normal game of Commander, at least from what I've seen. Not that I've spent a lot of time playing it, but I feel like in this format where things hopefully won't be quite as powerful, people won't be able to go over the top of Depala like they can in Commander. So I thought that this would be a fun deck to try out, given the reduced power level of this format. So we don't draw a land right there, which is unfortunate. I'm running 23, which is a little bit skimpy for this deck, probably. 24 would be ideal, 25 would be even better. Anyway, we lay down our thematic compass, and hopefully we find a land next turn, and can then use the compass if we have to keep making land drops. So when I was building this deck just a few moments ago, I selected about 55 cards that I wanted to put into it, and then I remembered that this is a 60-card format, not a 100-card format, and then had to do some very serious editing. And, yeah, it was kind of interesting because I haven't built a 60-card deck in a very long time, and I especially haven't built a 60-card singleton deck at any point before now. Glassblower's Puzzle Knot coming down for the Padim opponent. Let's take a look at what our opponents are playing. First up, we have Kumina Tyrant of Oriska is 1 green-blue for a 2/4. Ooh, nice, we catch a land. Not the plains that we wanted. Tough choice right here. Do we play this vehicle that we can't crew, or I think we activate the compass right here. We definitely need to get a plains before we do anything. Yeah, let's get a plains. So the plains in our hand, we'll have that ready to go for next turn. And then we can either cast Depala or cast one of our vehicles if we want to. Anyway, back to Kumina. 1 green-blue for a 2/4. Tap another untapped merfolk you control. Kumina can't be blocked. Tap 3 untapped merfolk you control. Draw a card. Tap 5 untapped merfolk you control. Put a +1/+1 counter on each merfolk you control. So Kumina gonna be a merfolk tribal kind of deck, or at least I assume it will be, given that I know almost nothing about this format. And apparently most of the photos don't want to load for our opponent's commanders, but do we call them brawlers in this format and not commanders? I don't know. You guys tell me. Treasure map coming down for Padim. Second, we have the Locust God, who's not showing his photo currently, is 4 blue-red for a 4/4 flying. Whenever you draw a card, create a 1/1 blue and red insect creature token with haste. Pay 4, draw a card, then discard a card. When it dies, return it to its owner's hand at the beginning of the next end step. So we draw into a vehicle, so it's a good thing we used the compass last turn, because we definitely want to keep making our land drops. I actually don't know what most of the cards in this deck do. I just saw Depala and a bunch of vehicles and then kind of threw them all in. So, yeah. Oh, we have a Start Your Engines in your hand. So, yeah, I think what we're going to do is just try to lay out as many of these vehicles as we can, and then cast Start Your Engines, and do a whole lot of damage to things. What? Opponent's going to negate our Iron Tread Crusher. Oh, no. Well, wasn't expecting to see a negate on that. Perilous Voyage. Return target non-land permanent you don't control to its owner's hand. If it's converted mana cost with 2 or less, scry 2. It's going to bounce the Shaper's Sanctuary. So the Locust God in Commander is very, very powerful. While I assume it's still very strong in Brawl, it'll probably lose a little bit of... and the Kumina opponent scoops it up. I assume that it's going to lose a little bit of steam, though you're getting creatures for free, which is a very, very powerful ability. Actually, just this morning, I released the Edgar Markov video, which just shows you how powerful getting free creatures is. That's a Gear Pro Orrery coming into play. Allows each player to play an additional land on their turns, and if anyone is empty-handed, they get to draw 3 cards. It does mean that they're 1 land away from the Locust God, and that's not amazing. Ether Hub for our opponent, they're going to get an energy. Cultivator's Caravan, we're running one of those. That is probably one of the best sources of mana ramp in this format as far as colorless mana ramp goes. So the one thing that I noticed for this format in the little bit that I've tried building for it is that the mana is terrible. We draw a stone quarry. Part of me wants to activate the compass. Honestly, I feel like getting another land is better than the flagship right now. Oh, we can play the Speedway Fanatic also. Yeah, that works out. I like that turn. And if for some reason we get empty-handed, we can draw a few off of this Gear per Orrery. We'll be attacking the Locust God right now, because they scare me way more than Padim does. Oh, opponent's going to Metallic Rebuke the Locust God. Sounds good to me. You, sir, just made yourself a friend. Yeah, we're probably going to focus down the Locust God for a little bit. Because even though this isn't full-blown Commander, I still feel like the Locust God is way better than what we have going on currently. Opponent says that concession seemed premature. Yes, it did. But yeah, so the big thing that I've noticed so far is that the mana is not great in Brawl. I was trying to plan out how I would build a Gishath Brawl deck, and the thing that became really apparent is that the level of mana ramp just isn't the same as it is in Commander. And I love Gishath, but I don't know if he's going to be a very good Brawl commander because it's really hard to get to 8 mana with the mana ramp that's available in Standard. It's not an easy thing to do, and quite a few things can happen beforehand. My early guess at this format, of how this format will play out, and based on the things that I've seen, is that it's probably going to be fairly creature heavy. I think it's a bit harder to combo off in Standard. Not saying that you can't play combo decks, but in Standard, for the most part, other than the fact that Kaladesh block is still legal, most combos that are usually legal in Standard don't win you the game or cost you a lot of mana to do so. I think combo will just be significantly more difficult to play than it is in regular Commander, so I think the format's going to play out as a more creature-heavy format, but who knows, anything could happen. We draw Dunes of the Dead, so we'll play that. How can we be mana efficient this turn? Ooh, we could get them with the flagship, and then they'd have to discard a card, and also things that aren't great. I mean, they're playing blue, so they'll have much better card draw than we do, but card draw and card advantage are also not going to be quite the same in this format. I think I like that plan, so we will activate the compass. Oh, it's 3 to activate the compass. Yeah, never mind, that's not going to work. So I said we play the flagship, then cast Depala, crew the flagship, so we're going to have to tap 2. The Speedway Fanatic will give our flagship haste, and Depala will have the Pay X ability. We've got one floating that we can't do anything with, so yeah, why not pay? We revealed a Workshop Assistant, which is not a vehicle, so it goes to the bottom. I put that in as a creature, 1 because it can crew, and 2 because it can get artifacts back from our graveyard to our hand, which seems reasonably good. Anyway, our Fel flagship is crewed up, and we are going to attack into the Locust God. They're going to take some damage, and then they're going to have to discard a card. This is kind of a cool little vehicle. Not saying it's competitive, not saying it's an amazing card, but I just really like the flavor of it for some reason. It's quite literally a pirate ship, and it makes you discard cards. Wish the crew cost was a little bit lower, but what can you do? Key to the City for our opponent. That's a good card, actually. I remember messing around with that sometime last year in a Standard deck that I was playing, and it does a lot more than it looks like it does. I was messing around with a red-black Vampire Madness deck, so you're really able to use both halves of the discard and draw ability. Sadly, the other stuff going on in Standard was just way more powerful than trying to jam vampires. So didn't have a ton of success with the deck, but every once in a while it would work out. There were a couple good Madness creatures that would get pumped up when you discarded other stuff, and then you could get in some pretty big chunks of damage nice and early, but the deck was just too mana inefficient to really deal with, you know, win on turn 5 and win on turn 6 of Emrakul and the, what was the thing there that, the artifact that got you the free Ulamog, yeah, all that stuff. Another thing, too, that I noticed while I was building for Brawl, the colors adhere to the color pie way more strictly because Standard has the most strict adherence to the current color pie. Locust God has a bunch of open mana, which is never really great. I think we start with his Dusk Legion Dreadnought. Also cool art. I really like the art on this card. I mean, it's, you know, ability-wise, it doesn't blow you away, but just a cool-looking card. So our choices are we can either find another land with the Spires or try to get some extra cards with Depala. We are close to getting the free draw off of Gear per Orrery, so I'm partially tempted to try to just get our hand empty as quickly as possible. Do we use the Spire? Oh no, we can't use the compass anymore. That's right, it flipped over. So we can't search for any more lands. So yeah, we'll just use the Depala ability. We need to crew things. That's very important with this deck. We need to make sure we do that before combat. So we'll use Depala to crew that one. And then we will crew 2 with the Speedway Fanatic. That will give the Dusk Legion Dreadnought haste. So the Dreadnought's crewed up. Depala is going to allow us to pay X. We will pay 3. Our Spires is still untapped. That's good news. We can protect ourselves. And then we'll just keep focusing down the Locust God, because that seems like a good idea. Also, Padim is down to 1 card in hand. Granted, they have a lot of shenanigans in play. Should probably actually read some of their cards. Commit. Put target spell or non-land permanent into its owner's library, second from the top. Well, that's just annoying. We did not reveal any vehicles with the Depala ability. Sad face. Opponent's going to use their key to the city, assumingly so they can loot on their next turn. And we hit him with the flagship, but opponent is already empty-handed, so the discard's not doing much, and they go down to 20. So we're getting there. We got hit a little bit hard with that bounce spell. That spell was much more mana efficient than us playing and crewing our Dusk Legion Dreadnought. But the Dreadnought will be back. So opponent's going to use the... Ooh, opponent gets the Gear Per Orrery ability. Yeah, now that I've got some cards. We're going to want to get that too. Drakehaven. Oh, opponent might be playing a cycling deck. There's a Sweltering Suns. That's going to get us pretty good. Ooh, well, things are not looking great now. So board gets wiped with the Sweltering Suns. Shielded Ether Thief coming down. 1 blue, 0/4 flash. When it blocks, you get an energy. Pay 3 energy and tap, draw a card. Opponent's going to use their treasure map one time. I mean, the Locust God's tapped out right here. So how much mana do we have? We have 9. Oh, we have exactly enough. We can play the Aradera Express and then start your engines and get in for a lot of damage. Yeah, we're totally going to do that. Oh, this is going to be fun. This is one of those lopsided vehicles, too. 8/6 Menace. Sounds good to me. A lot of power. The really interesting one is the 1 mana vehicle that's like a 7/11 or something like that. It's a Crew 6 or something, which is like pretty steep. But man, it just... trying to find some way to cheat that Crew 6 would be amazing. I know there's the red enchantment that makes it a vehicle all the time. That combo is in this deck and would be Magical Christmas Land if you could get it. But anyway, trying to finish up my thoughts on the color pie. So MTG Brawl is... the colors in MTG Brawl are going to adhere to the color pie very strictly. In my personal opinion, the most broken cards in Commander are generally ones, either 1, do things for free, or 2, don't adhere to the color pie. Something like Sylvan Library is really, really powerful. Blue has a bunch of removal spells that, yes, even though they're bluish in nature, blue probably really shouldn't have that much removal other than, like, bounce. And, you know, there's just a number of cards, especially in blue and green, that really don't stay within the color pie super well, and it really makes some crazy unbalanced things happen. We draw this Caught in the Brights, which is meh. I was kind of hoping to get our hand empty right here. So Depala is going to be 5 to cast. Ugh. Depala really doesn't feel worth 5. So we'll play the Aradera Express. Do we just go for the start your engines right here? The next card on top of our deck is a vehicle, so maybe we wait. But if we go now, we would get 10, 15, we'd get 15 damage in. We'd get 15 damage in, but then we'd also, if we kill our opponent, we lose the Gear Per Orrery. But then we also don't have to deal with the Locust God. Yeah, let's just fire off the start your engines. Oh, here we go. Oh no, it doesn't give them haste? Oh, it doesn't give them haste. Oh, that sucks. Oh, that's a big punt. Well, swinging into the Locust God, and they are going to get hit by the Fel Flagship, take 5 damage, and then have to discard. And they have the Drakehaven out. They're going to discard a Kefnet. Discards the Lightning Strike, and ooh, now they get another Gear Per Orrery trigger. That's about as bad as that last turn could have gone. Gave our opponent 3 fresh cards and didn't get in the damage that we thought we were going to get in. So Locust God coming back to play. It's not going to be great with Key to the City and Drakehaven floating around. We can use this Caught in the Brights to try to get rid of the Locust God. I do like the sound of that. Wow, Padim's all the way back up to 6 cards after the Padim trigger and the Immortal Sun. Ooh, opponent's going to pull from tomorrow X7. That's a bit scary. Basically going to get to sculpt the hand that they want. Pacification Array, it's not great. Tap target artifact or creature. That is most of our deck. Opponent's going to Brawl's Expertise, our Aradera Express, as well as the Locust God. Getting rid of the Locust God is good news, but I was really trying to get our hand empty so we could use the Gear Per Orrery. Also going to bounce Key to the City. Opponent's going to make a Drake. The Express comes back to our hand. And that's a Search for Azcanta coming down. That's a really good magic card. I believe Padim is now the threat. Padim's going to attack into the Locust God for 2. Locust God down to 13. We draw our Dusk Legion Dreadnought. Not the most helpful. I'm going to play the Caught in the Brights on the Padim. And then put the Aradera Express back down. I like this one a little bit more right now just because of the menace. Since there's starting to be a few creatures on board. And that's about all we can do. Pass the turn. I really hope we draw a land next turn so that we can try to get the card draw off the Girper Orrery, because we really need that. Locust God coming back to play. Padim just drew a lot of cards, so I'm going to let them try to deal with it. Although leaving the Locust God in play is usually never a great idea. We do have a lot of board wipes in our deck. I think we have about 3 or 4, which for a 60-card deck is pretty solid. Key to the City coming back into play. Padim's going to draw a card. Though they don't have a lot of blockers, and the Locust God is likely to start pumping out a lot of creatures very soon. So Search for Azcanta is going to trigger. Yeah, that's going to flip over. We do have a Star of Extinction in our deck, so we could theoretically blow up the Search for Azcanta. Mortal Sun's going to... Wow, Padim has a lot of cards. Plays 2 lands. Sorcerer Spyglass. Names the Fell Flagship, really? And there's a Locust God there? Yeah, great call. Aethersphere Harvester. That's actually one that I forgot to put in this deck. Crew 1. Wow, yeah, Crew 1, 3/5. Definitely need to pick one of those up for this deck. Opponent's going to opt. Opponent's going to gain some life. Opponent's going to Supreme Will. Look at the top 4 cards of the library. Put 1 in the hand and the rest in the bottom. What could they possibly need to draw more cards for? They have, like, all the card draw going. Quicksmith Spy coming down for our opponent. So I'm pretty sure all Padim's deck does is draw cards. I've yet to see anything that sort of resembles a win condition. Opponent does have this Pacification Array, which could be annoying. We draw an Aeronaut Admiral. The most important thing is that we'll be able to get our hand empty this turn, and that makes me happy. So lay this guy down, play the Dusk Legion Dreadnought, and we are now empty-handed. We just need to sit back and wait for the Girper Orrery to do some magic for us. Hopefully we don't get bounced like crazy. We cannot crew our flagship because of the Sorcerer's Spyglass. We don't have enough power for the Eridara Express, and the Dusk Legion Dreadnought has Summoning Sickness. So we will pass the turn. Wow, our opponents are way ahead of us in terms of card advantage. Locust God has 35 cards left in their library. Padim has 19, and we're at 42. The typical red-white problem of we just haven't seen that many cards. Memory. Each player shuffles their hand and graveyard into their library, then draws 7 cards. Yay! We're getting a whole new hand. I love it. Oh, please don't counter that. Please don't counter that. Oh, he negates it. Come on. Please have another counterspell. Get into a counterspell battle. Please, please, please. Let us draw the cards. Although, I guess if they do that, then the Locust God makes a million tokens. And that's probably also bad for everyone. But we do have board wipes. Sorcerer Spyglass coming down for the Locust God opponent. So, Sorcerer Spyglass doesn't seem awful in this format. It does seem like there are many more activated abilities than in Commander. Oh, opponent's going to disallow that. So, looks like opponent's going deep with the counter spells. So, Locust God going to send everything into the Padim opponent. I can get down for that. Padim down to 24. Padim has only 1 flying blocker in the Aethersphere Harvester. They can tap out another creature with the Pacification Array, but all of our creatures will have flying because of the Aeronaut Admiral, or at least our vehicles will, and that is really helpful. Universal Solvent. Oh, destroy target permanent. I don't think our permanents are really worth destroying, so I don't know. We'll see. Oh, wow, opponent has so much mana. Confiscation Coup. Oh, this should be good. Choose target artifact or creature, you get a bunch of energy, then you may pay an amount of energy equal to that permanent's mana cost. If you do, gain control of it. So our opponent now controls the Locust God. That's bad. They're going to use Search for Azcanta. Also bad. River's Rebuke. Return all non-land permanents target player controls to their hand, targeting the Locust God. Oh my god, that's going to get rid of the Girper Orrery. Gotta be kidding me. Well, opponent's going to time out before they can win this game, so that's a thing that's going to happen. They'll annoy the crap out of us before that happens, but unfortunately now the Padim has flying creatures, but again, their clock's winding down, so they are not going to make it to the end of this game. Going to crew up the Aethersphere Harvester. Going to send the Cultivator's Caravan into the Locust God and the Aethersphere Harvester into the Locust God. Well, they basically just set us up for the win. Nope, also going to send a token. Locust God goes down to 1. We draw a land. We will play the land. Cast our commander. Opponent's going to Essence Scatter our commander. Wow. Well, we're still going to crew up the Dusk Legion Dreadnought. See if opponent decides to tap it out. If they do, they're going to burn their clock. Either way, I don't really care. Yep. Opponent is going to... What's this? Edifice Authority. Target creature can't attack this turn. Put a brick counter on the thing. Yep, that's fine. Opponent's down to 1:30. There's an hour of devastation. Nice. It's going to do 5 damage to everything. Yeah, I think that looks like it's going to kill everything. Unfortunately, that will kill our Aeronaut Admiral, which is very sad. And now Padim has no chance of winning because they will not be able to play fast enough to beat the clock. Immortal Sun triggers. They get to draw a card. Nezahal coming down. Opponent's going to crew up their Cultivator's Caravan and the Aether Sphere Harvester. Opponent's going to send both into the Locust God. So Locust God goes down. We draw our Star of Extinction. Yeah, we'll just fire it down. Why not? Actually, we can shoot it at the Azcanta. Yeah, so we win. Opponent times out. Awkward game. We had one person scoop, and then we had one person time out, and then we had one person actually get killed. We did a pretty good chunk of damage to them, so thoughts on the Brawl format? So far, I kind of like it. Blue is the easiest way to draw cards, which is a little bit concerning. You saw how much more the other opponents drew than us. Now, the Padim was using some artifacts to do it, so those are cards that we could potentially run. But at that point in the game, Padim was definitely way ahead of everything we were doing, at least in terms of card count, land count. They didn't have a ton of creatures left after the board wipe, and they definitely wouldn't have had many more after the Star of Extinction. We could have kept this Nezahal tapped down to eternity with the Spires, which is probably what we would have had to do. With 12 cards left in our opponent's deck, I don't know that they actually had a lot of ways left to kill us. I'm not saying we would have won, because they also have a lot of tricksy things in play, but we would have been able to certainly claw back into it a little bit more, simply because our opponent just can't have that much left in their deck, where most of our deck is left, and I think we would have slowly just started amassing enough creatures and vehicles to start chipping away at their life. Plus the fact that, like, if we get through with any of our vehicles, it's fairly significant in terms of the damage it's doing. So, but yeah, the slow play was real this game, and yes, the slow play does annoy me a little bit, but it is a part of Magic Online. It's something you have to live with. But all in all, as far as the Brawl format, I like this first game. It was interesting. We got hit with some blue spells pretty hard. If we didn't get our Iron Tread Crusher countered, we would have gotten in a ton of damage nice and early, and that would have been great. But sadly, we weren't able to do that. But I don't know. Yeah, it's a fun little format. Gonna have to play it a little bit more to kind of understand all the ins and outs of it. I think I mentioned this somewhere. Like, my understanding of the standard card pool is atrocious. So it was actually pretty tough for me to go through and just, grab 60 cards that kind of make sense in a deck together. Because like I said, I really just don't know the standard format all that well. Anyway, this has been Depala Pilot Exemplar MTG Brawl. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. As always, feel free to comment, like, or subscribe. Thank you for watching.